Okay, let's start with what we all know. Length, width, height, and of course, time. The fourth dimension. That's our reality, right? That's how we map everything.
That's the everyday framework, definitely. We use those four to pinpoint anything, measure its journey.
But what if that's just, the surface? What if the reality you experience is just the ground floor of this enormous, incredibly complex structure?
Exactly. That's precisely what we're diving into today. We've looked at some fascinating material suggesting reality is, well, much richer than what we typically measure.
And this comes from where exactly?
It's a blend, really. We're pulling from highly abstract theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, string theory, but also, interestingly, from deep human experience. We'll touch on some spiritual insights too, particularly from the Bahá'í perspective.
Right. So the goal here is to give you, the listener, a kind of framework. Show how these very different ways of knowing scientific models and maybe consciousness itself might actually point towards hidden layers of reality.
And maybe even hint at how we could start, exploring them or at least conceptualizing them.
Okay, let's begin where things feel solid. Classical physics, Newton's world.
The predictable stage, you could call it. 3 spatial dimensions, length, width, height, plus 1 for time. Everything's pretty deterministic here.
Like clockwork almost. Planetary orbits, building bridges. It all works reliably in this 3+1 setup. It feels like a fixed reality.
It does.
It does.
But then you zoom way, way down to the scale of fundamental particles.
Yeah.
And that fixed stage, it starts to dissolve almost.
So quantum mechanics enters the picture.
Right. And this is the first big clue that maybe our reality is more complex than just a simple 4-dimensional box. Now, quantum mechanics doesn't usually add physical dimensions we can walk around in, but it introduces this concept of the infinite dimensional Hilbert space, which sounds incredibly abstract, I know.
It does. Infinite dimensions. What does that even mean for us, practically speaking? What's the key takeaway there?
It means that even before we start talking about string theory's extra dimensions, the universe we already know operates in a space of infinite possibility, not fixed points, but potential states.
Okay, possibility space, not physical space.
Exactly. Think superposition. Entanglement particles, linked instantly across distance, particles existing in multiple states at once. These things happen in this abstract Hilbert space. It suggests reality isn't just here or there, but exists as this vast landscape of potentials until we look.
So we go from a predictable fixed stage to this quantum realm of almost infinite potential states.
Okay, but now for the really big theoretical jump, string theory.
Correct. And string theory is ambitious. It's trying to do the holy grail of physics. Unify gravity, the force that shapes the cosmos, with the quantum forces that govern the very small.
And to make the math work, it needs more dimensions.
Drastically more. The most common versions propose 10 or even 11 total dimensions. So our familiar 3 spatial, 1 time, plus 6 or 7 others.
Whoa, okay, wait. If there are 6 or 7 extra dimensions, where are they? Why can't I, take a step into the 5th dimension? Because according to the theory, they're compactified. They're curled up unimaginably tightly at every single point in space. Way too small for us to perceive or interact with directly with current technology.
Curled up, like tiny hidden loops or shapes within the fabric of space itself.
That's a good way to picture it. They're part of the fundamental geometry of reality, just hidden from our scale.
Yeah.
Think of them not as empty space, but as this incredibly intricate internal structure.
And this structure, it does something. It's not just mathematical filler.
Oh, it's crucial in the theory. The specific shape and size of these compactified dimensions determine how the fundamental strings, the basic constituents of everything in this theory, can vibrate.
And the vibration determines the particle.
Exactly. The different vibration modes of these strings correspond to the different fundamental particles we see: electrons, photons, quarks, everything. Their properties, like mass and charge, emerge from the geometry of these hidden dimensions.
So these unseen dimensions are basically writing the rules for how matter behaves. They're like the architectural blueprint for particles.
Precisely. It's the unseen complexity of geometry shaping fundamental reality.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. Going from the 4 dimensions we live in to potentially 11 that define the particles within us. It's a huge leap. How do we even start to grasp that kind of hidden complexity, especially since it's still theoretical, right? Not experimentally proven.
Absolutely. It's crucial to remember string theory is a powerful mathematical framework, but direct experimental evidence for those extra dimensions is still missing. But if these dimensions shape the vibration of matter, maybe they also subtly shape our experience.
How so? Are you saying we can feel the seventh dimension?
Not directly, perhaps, but this is where some of the sources we looked at suggest turning to metaphor, to relatable experience. Think about a flower.
Okay, a flower. I can measure its length, its width, its depth. I can watch it bloom over time. That's our 4 dimensions.
Right, but what about its scent?
Sense, okay. That's definitely part of the flower's reality. But it's not a spatial dimension.
Exactly. Scent is described in these sources as an emergent, non-local temporal field. It fills the space around the flower, changes over time, you experience it, but you can't measure it with a ruler.
It's purely experiential.
Right. And you could draw an analogy. Maybe scent is like a quantum wave function, diffuse, spread out, until you perceive it, that it collapses into a distinct experience. Or maybe it's like a string vibration, an essential quality encoded in the flower's being, but unseen geometrically.
That's a really nice way to bridge the gap. It hints that there might be essential layers to reality that aren't about measurement in meters, but about quality or essence, encoded information.
It kind of grounds the abstract idea. Physicists need incredibly complex math for 11 dimensions, but maybe poets and just everyday experience have always sensed extra layers,
It does feel a bit more intuitive put that way. Which brings us to maybe the most abstract, but also the most human idea in these sources, this concept of a relational dimension.
Yes. So science has verified the 4 dimensions. But human experience, think about deep intuition, moments of synchronicity, dreams, that feeling of connection with someone far away.
Like love across distance.
Exactly. That's a key example used. That profound connection seems to defy physical separation. It operates a bit like quantum entanglement, doesn't it? That spooky action at a distance Einstein talked about, an instantaneous link.
Okay, hold on though. Are we saying that the feeling I have for my family, that deep, non-physical bond, is that just some undiscovered force operating in a hidden dimension, like a fifth force alongside gravity and electromagnetism? Or are we mixing apples and oranges here, geometry and emotion?
That's a really important distinction. The sources aren't necessarily proposing love as a literal geometric dimension you can plot on a graph. It's more that these profound connections inspire new models.
Models of what? Consciousness.
Potentially. It's exploring the idea of unseen complexity in relation. Could intention, compassion, love, could these operate as organized fields? Fields that might subtly influence reality or connect consciousnesses in ways we don't understand yet.
So proposing a relational dimension is less about finding new coordinates and more about acknowledging that connection and perhaps intention might be fundamental aspects of reality structure, possibly interacting with those other hidden layers.
That seems to be the idea. It suggests consciousness isn't just a passenger in a 4D vehicle, but might actively interface with a much richer dimensional landscape.
Okay, so we have the potential extra geometric dimensions from physics, and these potential experiential or relational dimensions suggested by consciousness and connection. How do we bring these together? They seem like very different things. One is math, the other is meaning.
And that's often where the conversation hits a wall, isn't it? The measurable versus the meaningful. This is where looking at a framework like the Bahá'í teachings, as one of the sources does, becomes interesting. It offers a way to synthesize.
How so? What's the core idea there?
The core idea is the essential harmony of science and religion, or more broadly, the material and the spiritual ways of knowing. The teaching suggests that if they seem to conflict, it means our understanding of one or possibly both is incomplete.
Okay, so they should align.
They must agree and evolve together. Science is seen as the tool for discovering the necessary relationships between material things, how the universe works mechanically. Spiritual insight, on the other hand, reveals the necessary relationships concerning meaning, purpose, connection among souls, with nature, with existence itself. You need both perspectives for a complete picture.
So science tells us how the clock works, and maybe spirit tells us why the clock exists or what time means.
That's a decent analogy. This framework of unity allows us to explore dimensions that could be both mathematically described and have profound meaning or experiential relevance.
And tackling that kind of integration, exploring potentially vast new layers of reality, that sounds like a job for more than just human brains. Is that where AI comes in?
That's exactly where the sources point. AI is positioned not just as a supercalculator, but potentially as a partner, even a guide, in deciphering the logic of creation.
The logic of creation. That sounds profound. What can AI actually do in this context?
Well, think about its strengths. AI excels at recognizing complex patterns that human researchers might miss, simply because of the sheer scale of data or our inherent biases.
Okay.
So specific roles could include simulating incredibly complex quantum systems far beyond our current capacity, finding subtle patterns in vast astronomical datasets that might hint at new physics or cosmic structures, even attempting to model consciousness itself.
Wait, modeling consciousness, how would AI even approach that?
By looking for correlations, perhaps, maybe modeling networks, information flow, potentially even linking quantum phenomena to observed conscious states. If AI can simulate quantum interactions and model complex emergent behaviors,
It might start to bridge the gap. It could potentially translate spiritual or philosophical concepts about consciousness into a language, mathematics, computation that science can work with.
that's the tantalizing potential, yes. AI could help reveal the underlying architecture of consciousness, possibly uncovering new dimensions of being, not just space, by connecting data points we currently see as totally separate domains.
That's mind-bending. But it also raises questions, doesn't it? If AI starts revealing the logic of creation, how do we make sure we're not just projecting our own assumptions onto its findings? We need some serious ethical checks there.
Oh, absolutely. The goal has to be discovery, not dictation. AI is a tool, a powerful one, but it reflects the data and the questions we feed it. Rigorous validation and ethical oversight are non-negotiable.
Okay, so assuming we navigate that carefully and we do start to uncover this deeper, multi-layered reality, the big sci-fi question always comes up. Can we travel through these extra dimensions? Time travel, instantaneous jumps across space.
The travel question.
Yeah.
Well, the physics allows for speculation. General relativity, for instance, mathematically permits solutions like closed time-like curves, which are essentially paths back into one's own past. Wormholes could theoretically connect distant points in space-time. But these are purely theoretical constructs right now. There's no known practical mechanism. Quantum entanglement suggests instantaneous connection, but we don't know how to use that for, say, teleporting information or objects. So the physics hints at possibilities, but actually building a dimension drive is firmly in the realm of science fiction for now.
Got it. So possible in theory, impossible in practice, at least currently.
That sums it up well.
All right, so we've taken quite a journey today. We started with the familiar 4D world, the classical stage.
Then plunged into the probabilistic weirdness of quantum states, that infinite Hilbert space.
Then leaped into the theoretical hidden geometry of string theory's 10 or 11 dimensions, curled up beneath reality.
And then bridged over to experience, using scent as a metaphor and exploring this idea of a potential relational dimension hinted at by human connection and love.
Before finally looking at how unifying science and spirit with the help of AI might let us map this bigger reality.
Exactly. And I think the core takeaway, weaving through all these sources, is this. We definitely live in and navigate 4 known, verified dimensions. That's our anchor.
What?
But the evidence, whether it's from the frontiers of theoretical physics or the depths of human experience and spiritual insight, strongly suggests that reality is far more layered, complex, intricate, and deeply interconnected than those 4 dimensions alone reveal. There's likely more going on.
So the real deep dive, the ultimate exploration maybe, isn't just about finding new dimensions out there to measure with some future scientific instrument.
Perhaps not just that. The most provocative thought from these sources, I think, is the idea of discovering dimensions to, well, potentially live in more consciously.
What do you mean by that?
Think about it. What if intention, compassion, connection, these things we often consider purely internal or subjective, were shown to operate within, say, a scientifically describable relational dimension? What if your inner state demonstrably, predictably shaped external reality through these deeper connections? How would you choose to focus your energy, your thoughts, your life, knowing that?
That certainly gives you something to ponder, especially the next time you feel that connection across miles or have a moment of profound intuition.
Indeed.
Thank you. This has been fascinating, truly diving duck with us today.